Good evening. I'm going to go kind of quick here. All the backup data has been presented to the board and is available if you just send an email and say, where'd you get that from? Most of it's from the state or right to know requests that we've collected or from the district's website. In reviewing this district's performance, anybody that has a managerial background would review the performance of an organization, and they would do that on several levels. Historically, looking at the leadership, how the assets are being managed, and how the finances are being managed. And by reviewing those, we come up with an evaluation of what needs to change and what needs to evolve over the distance of the next period, which is typically in this school a fiscal year of 1 year. Okay, so here we go. Let's see what we got. First one is going to be the breakdown. And we're going to look at leadership. Under the leadership, most managerial oversight provides what we call KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. We're going to look at reporting and come up with what that performance that we're looking for and where we are today and how we're going to get there. And with each decision, managerial decision, you're going to evaluate whether or not you're going in the right path or the wrong path. So in a school, most of this documentation, because it's a government-run school, is public information. Pennsylvania Department of Education, the state boards, the county reports. Pennsylvania actually puts out a discipline compilation for the entire state of Pennsylvania and how to discipline and how discipline works within schools. Then you got the PSSA reports and the SAT reports and the state reporting of grade performance. On a financial side, you got something called an annual financial review, which is provided by the district. It's submitted to the state. You got bond documents. So when we wanted to borrow money, we as a district had to provide the lending agency documents susceptible to review so we can borrow money. Then you got the audits that we do, and then also you have this idea that we called in the Auditor General. When the people found a problem, we sought the Auditor General's oversight to identify the issues of non-compliance, at which point it's the responsibility of the board to address those non-compliant issues. And then you have asset management. So in a school district, you have a variety of assets. You have the obviously the buildings and the supplies in each of the classrooms and that sort of thing. Then you have the staff. Staff is your number one asset within a school district. And then finally, you have the parents in the community that participate in the school and volunteer their time, energy, and effort, like we are doing here today with this presentation to the board. One other managerial oversight is the Power School. This is a indication of how much time does our teaching staff act as a teacher in front of a group of students, whether it's classroom related or one-to-one or whatever they're going to put together. And by reviewing those things, we should be able to look at performance of our students and performance of the teachers to better manage how that takes place. So the key to this, our advice and conclusion to these reports was that we need to set up these KPIs, these key performance indicators, and the board should direct the administration to compile monthly reports. Now, most of these reports are done on a yearly basis, so we're compiling them as you go, month to month, but they should be submitted to the board on a month-to-month basis, not just at the end of the year basis, so you can make some decisions along the way. It just makes common sense. They should ask the community for some non-biased assistance. They're the ones that know what's going on. And when we look at the financial side of these documents, we want to extract any extraneous things like excise that stadium that was purchased one of those years. That should not be reflected in the change of expenditures due to the cost of living. Okay, from there we move on to the next one. Let's take a look at leadership, and the most important part of a school district is keep the students safe. So this reporting is done under a program called Safe Schools. It's available online. And if you extract that data from a 10-year period, it looks kind of like this compiled. Lehighton Area School District had 95 out of the 116 total arrests in Carbon County. Find that a little bit of an outlier that needs to be reviewed by the board and find out what's going on here. If we have 95 arrests and in the same commensurate time, all the other schools of Carbon County combined only had 21 arrests, we really should look at what's going on within our districts and how to make them safer for our students. On the injury side, here's another outlier. When you got a 10-year history and a goose egg, so according to our reports that we presented to the state, zero students had a serious bodily injury. That should be verified. The fact that nobody was seriously injured, yet we have reports inside of our school board meetings where students that were bullied went to the pediatric ICU with brain trauma. So, and we had a whole series of injured students that are currently in a litigation. So something's awry here. That should be reviewed and checked. Victim that did not sustain a physical injury. These are victims. We have to find out why we have so many victims within our schools. And then you got this other outlier, another zero on the report. 0 detentions. Comparison to all of Carbon County had 105. Now, on the out of school suspension, we kind of come in a little closer, that we're kicking kids out of school to be suspended for activities. And that was about 27% of all the people in Carbon County. A little bit higher than what our average should be, closer to 13, 14% if you're divvying it up equally between the schools. But then you got to look at population and some other things as well. So again, this is where the board should be reviewing reports on a monthly basis, presenting them to their stakeholders who they answer to, for benefit to the entire community so we can keep our students safer. The most important part of an educational system is to have the students safe. Then the second most important part is their performance. And a student performance, when we look at this puzzle, we're looking at how many of the students meet proficiency to the state standard. This is the PSSA test that these students take. And if you take all the students that took the PSSA and you put them into a percentage of students that meet the proficiency assigned by the state, we see in the elementary center for 2019, you're looking at 61%. A little over half our students can meet the proficient standard of English. Only 38% meet the math standard and 84% meet the science standard. Now, go to the middle school for the same year. Different students, but 59, 33, and 68. I'd like to get the district to track elementary students that then make it to the middle school so you get the same students. You can do this with cross-reporting from different years, but that should be done at a district level because enrollment changes and things. But that should be monitored and provided to the school district board who's providing this oversight. There's a lot of opportunity for improvement here. And it looks like from reviewing some other reports that the number one area we can improve is let's get back to a teacher in front of students environment where they're actually teaching the students. They should have more opportunity for math, more opportunity for science and English, but also more opportunity for art and music. We need teachers to be providing the service of teaching. So somewhere along that got askew. If you look at the reports in Power School as to the time that the teachers are spending not teaching students in a classroom setting, we could review that more specifically over time. But And then the last one is the SAT. So currently, Lehighton's ranked 399th for our SAT scores from our students. And this, again, is the average scores for students in the 2019 graduation. We have one other area. As a district underperforms, there's certain levels by the state. The first level is CSI, and then the lowest level is this advanced, additional targeted support and advanced awareness of we got a problem, please keep an eye on it. And then the state actually puts us on a watch list. And in our situation, they'll evaluate the watch list, what's it in reference to, and ours was students with disabilities. We're struggling with meeting those standards. Basically, we're looking at a flat enrollment, and we're looking at, we lost about 173 students below our current average, which is fantastic. We should embrace that. And we have about 255 staff members, according to other reports provided by the district. And therefore, we have about 8 staff members per student. It'd be nice to figure out how many teachers we have per student and taking a look at that. It looks like there's going to be closer to maybe 13 students per teacher, but that can always be adjusted. That's the board's responsibility to make that mix to try to do the best performance in a goal of obtaining better results in these charts. Here's an interesting statistic now. When you look at the administration's projections for the next year, they're looking at spending about $45 million, which is about $20,000 a student. Whereas just last year at the end of the audit report, it showed about $18,000 per student. And of the 18, $2,500 per student was given to staff members for health benefits, of which a good portion of those premium payments came back to us because they were not used. If you're buying insurance that your employees are not using, there's probably a great opportunity for savings there. It looks like, very simply, you could add higher salary, which provides better for the staff, better pensions for them in the long term, and lower the medical benefits. It could save the district almost $1 million a year, which is huge when you look at the percentage, and you're talking about 2,000 students. So in that regard, by trimming back the medical benefits, by adding some salary and putting some savings back into the stakeholders' pockets so that we don't lose, the key word is we do not want to lose any residents that are paying taxes that have no students in the district. They're no burden. They help the district. They're the ones that go to the sporting events. They're the grandmoms that are the latchkey, helping out the kids. They're the ones that provide that oversight and reduce the safety risks for these students. We want to keep them in our communities. If we don't make a serious effort to reduce the taxes, reduce the revenue, make it more efficient, the key word is efficient, we're doing a better job and we'll keep those people. If you artificially lose some of those members of our community, it doesn't only hurt on the benefit to the students that are there that no longer have that family member or that other resource, but they also will typically be replaced by a family moving into the area. And when you look at each student that gets about $250,000 worth of educational benefits in the Lehighton area school district at $18,000 or $20,000 per year for the 12 or 13 years that they're going to be going to school. If a family of 4 moved in, they added $1 million burden, and the person that left, who was only paying X number of hundreds or X number of thousands of dollars of not using the burden, wide disparity, huge. If you don't manage that properly as a school board, it could be detrimental. You gotta let it be natural. All right, you don't want to have an exodus. We have $32,000 per staff member is the health camp benefits, which equals about 41% of the teacher salary and 63% of that custodial salary. It's a large portion of what it costs to have an employee. I think it's really high. It looks like it's really high in comparison to all the other districts. It looks like it's really high in comparison to just the general population, especially when you look at the per capita income. Per capita income for Carbon County is a little over $30,000. We're paying more in benefits than the average person creates an income in Carbon County. That's just benefits. Okay, so we also have an excess fund balance. If we can return some of that to those seniors that are definitely suffering after COVID and all the other issues with the cost of living, inflation, everything else, we don't want them moving to Florida, losing a grandparent, losing someone that we put in the stands that's paying taxes without much burden, and then have someone move from another area in here with 4 or 5 or 6 or 3 or even 1 child. That disparity will tip the balance for the Lehighton School District. It's already overburdened with that. Okay, here we take a look at the state data on Lehighton area expenditures. When we take a look at this, we can look at the stadium. If we took the stadium out right here when they did the stadium, you look at the year-to-year change is only a couple percent. This is after they stopped paying for the stadium but kept everything high within the district. Costs went up about 10% in 1 year. To me, that's mismanagement. They should be more efficient with their use of the funds. They should be efficient to take only what is needed, make sure it gets dispersed properly, and not wasted. A lot of that was probably the National Education Foundation, a program where we spent millions of dollars and apparently did not completely implement the program to the students. So therefore, a huge cost, no benefit, and paid stipends and things of that nature. Okay, moving on. Take a look at how the government policy works. They have the authority and responsibility to collect and disperse this money. When you look at that liability for an individual child of about $200,000, and you look at what it costs to have a non-burdening family, non-burdening homeowner within the community, like a business, like the grandparents, we got to protect them. You lose them, those kids don't have summer jobs. You lose them, those kids don't have somewhere to go when both parents are working, trying to make ends meet. We got to protect this by using an efficient manner in which we collect and disperse these dollars. We got to remove the waste. Okay. We should also consider correcting the past seizures identified by the Auditor General as non-compliant. They can go under the Surcharge Act, under Pennsylvania School Code 2406. These things should all be reviewed by our board. If they look at the problem and then try to solve the problem using standard managerial techniques and help educate the community as how these techniques work, you're going to make the whole thing more efficient. It's going to be more fair. It's simple. You can use the 5 whys or situation option. Then you take all your options that are available. You pull from your community to find more options. Pick one of those options and take an action. And then most importantly, go back and find out, did the action we take get the goal they were looking for? And you reevaluate it. And if it did, fantastic. And if it didn't, you can then go back and look at the options, maybe add new options, and then start to cycle over again. Ultimately, everyone will be part of the solution. They'll all be able to participate. They will not be silenced. And you're grabbing free consulting from a plethora of citizens that have tremendous amount of experience in different areas that can all help in our STEM programs and other areas of our district. Okay. Last one is you gotta measure. You gotta measure the performance, and then it can be managed, right? You should do regular reporting within the district. We're looking at well-defined reporting processes and public-friendly reporting. And then we also think you should streamline the process, get rid of the chaos. If you look at it, the flow chart of command, right? Organizational chart is on the left here. And this is what I propose. It's pretty much the same. It just gives it an idea that the parents, the students, the community members will follow a chain of command that has a straight line to the results which they're looking for. File a complaint and get a result. Find out what happened and learn from other people's complaints. Learn from other people's mistakes. With that being done, we got to look at it from a big picture view. This is a government. There's a chain of command. Stakeholders are on top. They elect the directors to provide oversight of the administration. The administration administers the policy and procedures of the directors. The buck stops with the elected directors. Once the stakeholders elect the directors, it is the directors that have the responsibility. Now, stakeholders can still hold them accountable. There's a ton of right to knows you can request. There's a ton of complaints you can make in all sorts of different areas of the government. These are all available. They should be trained and educated. The community should, so that they can help monitor and oversee this district and keep things private, government's public, transparent, lawfully transparent, but redacted private individuals should maintain their own privacy. And that's it. Thank you very much.